Kelly, along with Representatives
On Tuesday,
Jason Crow,
November
Maggie
18th,
Goodlander,
On Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, Democratic Senators Alyssa Slotkin and Mark Kelly, along with Representatives Jason Crow, Maggie Goodlander, Chris DeLuzio, and Chrissy Houlihan, posted a joint message on social media to active duty soldiers. The message reminds active duty military service members that their oath is to the U.S. Constitution above all else, and that they were obligated to disobey illegal orders, whether these orders violate the Constitution or our laws. This, of course, sent President Trump into a tirade, leading to a string of rants on Truth Social. He called the Democrats traitors and suggested that they be arrested or even put to death for seditious behavior. This is the Journalism of Everything podcast. I am host and freelance journalist Darisse Smith. This podcast covers everything from immigration, ICE raids, and vigilante justice to Israel, Ouija boards, and birth order personality theory for the person who is curious about everything. I want to read 2 oaths that are taken by military service members upon entering the U.S. military. The first is the oath of enlistment in the United States military that enlisted service members, so your privates and that sort of rank, take upon entering and then when they re-enlist into the military. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. The second oath is the oath of enlistment as a commissioned officer, so like your lieutenants, your captains, your majors, etc., into the United States military. And again, this is taken before you get into service and then if you re-enlist throughout your career. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I am about to enter. So help me God. I wanted to leap into what this oath really means and what it looks like in realistic terms. You know, if you are a lower enlisted soldier or even a lieutenant or a captain on up, what does it look like? Or is it realistic that you can say, no, this is an illegal order and I will not obey it? For those who don't know, I served from 2000 to 2007 in the U.S. Army as a Kiowa Warrior helicopter pilot and a commissioned officer. I served from 2005 to 2006 in Iraq as a Republic of Korea liaison officer in Irbil, Iraq, under my guest today, Colonel retired Ronald S. Gallimore. Colonel Gallimore spent over 30 years in the U.S. Army and National Guard, so he has quite the resume. Colonel Gallimore was born in Greensboro, North Carolina in 1948 as the oldest of 4 boys. Both of his parents served in World War II. After graduating from Greensboro College in 1971, he enlisted in the Army, became an officer, and took on several roles as an infantryman. His first long overseas assignment sent him to West Germany during the Cold War, where he pioneered the first organizational effectiveness role in his brigade and later served as a community human resources officer. He had a falling out with a superior officer after 11 years in active duty, so he stepped away. In 1988, he returned to service through the North Carolina Army National Guard, and he transitioned into combat engineers, which we used to say are like infantrymen who can build things. In this chapter, he deployed to Central America 7 times, including 6 months in Honduras. He held key staff roles and commanded an engineering battalion. He later served as on an active duty managing training, budgets, and personnel at Fort Jackson while completing the Army War College. He was promoted to colonel in 2003, and he was assigned to Fort Polk and qualified as a senior parachutist. And later, he actually became a jumpmaster. After 9/11, he remained in service well beyond normal retirement age at the request of Army leadership. At Fort Bragg with the 18th Airborne Corps, he deployed twice to Iraq, first leading a Corps liaison team during Operation Iraqi Freedom. That is where I first met him, and later overseeing Force Generation. Even after retiring in 2009, he returned as a civilian to help support Iraq's transition toward independent governance. Today, he lives near Ocala, Florida, which is a long way from brigade headquarters and drop zones, where he runs a horse farm, trains horses, and leads trail rides. His life bridges Cold War Europe, post 9/11 America, 2 Iraq deployments, guard service, and leadership at every echelon. We had a long conversation getting caught up the other day, so I'm going to drop into our conversation about how we first met, and then Colonel Gallimore's story about his experience with 9/11 and our discussion about oaths and the reality of disobeying orders. Enjoy. A time in my Army career that really sticks out. So I
Good
was.
What did I do?
So I deployed with the as an individual augmentee with the 10th Mountain Division. And when I deployed, I did not know what I was going to be doing over there. I just knew they needed an O3 somewhere, time and money training me.
Right.
And I get to Kuwait, don't know what I'm going to do. They send us to Baghdad. They put me in a little tent. And I was actually there for a couple of days until I got a knock on my door. I can't remember his name, but one of your captains who worked for you. And he said, Colonel Gallimore would like to see you in 30 minutes. I like COL full bird Colonel Gallimore. Yes. So I got ready. I walked up to the palace and walked in, and there is this very tall man with a big bird on his rank, where his rank goes, with a very familiar North Carolina drawl, which normally would put me at ease, but I was like, oh boy. And we chatted and everything, and you said, I'm going to send you to Irbil. Do you know where that is? I said, I do not. You told me a little bit about it. It was in northern Iraq in the Kurdish territory, and that there were Koreans there. And I didn't know there were Koreans in Iraq. Nobody did. So you said there's some soldiers up there and their morale is low and things are kind of going wonky. And I need you to figure out their food situation and get them to be able to cash money. And he said, and this is what I distinctly remember. You said, have you ever done logistics before? And I said, no, sir, I have not. You said, well, you are an aviator and you are a Davidson graduate. You'll figure it out. And if you don't, you're fired. And then I left. Yep. That was those words ring in my head. And honestly, you never fired me, that was good. And it was a very, very challenging year. I have a lot of confidence from that experience, and you gave me the chance, because if I had been lingering in some talk doing aviation for a year, honestly, I would have been really miserable. So thank you.
Well, very welcome. They give me orders to JRTC. I'm up in Little Rock. I'm having a great time, and 9/11 hit.
Yeah.
We were in a big classroom, and all of a sudden they piped CNN on the big screen. And I swear to God, Darisse, we thought it was a training scenario.
Wow.
And we watched probably the first 10 minutes before the second plane showed up. And when it crashed into the second Twin Towers, a general came out on the stand, white-faced, and said, "Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is live."
Yeah.
And everybody's cell phone, everybody's pager started going off.
Yeah.
Everybody went back home. All the planes were grounded. You know, the guys from the East Coast, they rented 15-passenger vans, and everybody, like Bragg, Stewart, they all piled in the same van and took off driving.
Wow.
Well, I called Fort Polk, and I said, talked to the chief of staff, and I said, "What do you want me to do?" And he said, "Well, you might as well stay there because we can't do anything either." We had a GSA car. I could back down.
Yeah.
Well, then the next call I get is from Human Resources in the Army, not National Guard Bureau.
Oh.
So
active.
The Army's really big about colonels talk to colonels. You don't get a major. They have their own colonel's branch.
I didn't know.
So anyway, So he says, first thing is, you have been officially integrated into the regular Army. I said, okay, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
He said, well, you already, I don't know, 23, 24 years into my career.
Jeez.
So I could have retired any time.
Yeah.
I needed to get 2 years as an 06 to be able to retire. Well, he said, you're going to be able to stay 30 years to your mandatory retirement date.
Wow.
And nobody's going to question you. And I said, okay, what else? And he goes, no, I just wanted to let you know, that you're pretty much, it's kind of like stop loss for 06s.
Right. Yeah.
So not too long after that, I officially got promoted. You're going to love this one. They officially promoted me to 06 on my last day in South Carolina, which was 15 June. 15 June is the Army's birthday.
Yep.
And the other on 15 June 2003 was the Black Beret.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
a Black Beret.
Oh.
Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
And Ish was going to the 18th Airborne Corps. I got a Maroon Beret and jump boots.
Nice.
So, Black Beret my entire time in the Army because my whole
Lucky.
06 career. So anyway, the guy calls me again from this was operations, Pentagon desk ops.
Okay.
Only this desk ops at the highest level, and he says, "Saddle up, you're going to Fort Bragg."
No.
And I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Yes, you are." No, I'm not. He goes, "Why are you so hard to get along with?" And I said, "Dude, I've been trying for 25 years to get to Fort Bragg. It's only 70 miles. You guys will never send me." And he said, "No, you're going. When will you be there?" And it was like 8. And I said, October. And he said, "No, July." And I said, "Okay, I'll compromise, September." And he said, "No, July." And I said, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, this is close hold."
Mm-hmm.
The 82nd Division Commander, John Vines, has been selected for his 3rd star. He's going to come back and take 18th Airborne Corps to Iraq. Okay.
Yep.
But the Army is going to be out of active duty brigades who are fully ready to deploy to combat. So what we're going to do is you're going to have 15 brigades. 7 of them are going to be National Guard. Combat brigades, tank, infantry, whatever. First time it's ever been done since World War II.
Wow.
Well, what the hell am I supposed to do? How did I get tangled up in this?
Right.
He says General Vines and whoever the chief was, either the chief or the deputy. Vines called him. Vines was a legend in the paratrooper community. He had like 700 Ranger instructor, commanded every kind of thing you can think of.
Jeez.
Could do no wrong. Looked like a caricature of the world's greatest paratrooper. Big square jaw.
Oh, wow.
From Alabama. Anyway, called S-Ops and said, "I want a colonel on my staff who can talk National Guard as well as he can talk active Army.
Oh.
And he's got to be able to work at the high-speed 18th Airborne Corps headquarters, humma.
Yeah.
So somebody looked through the records, and I got picked.
You got it.
So now I've used an hour and 19 minutes, and we haven't said anything.
That's okay, because this is the thing this is actually a good segue, because I think that people generally, if you haven't served in the military, you don't know all the different situations that you're put in, that you have to navigate, whether you're an officer, whether you're enlisted. We aren't just robots, right? We aren't,
Correct.
I mean, part of yes, there is discipline and order for sure. But we got to use our brains all the time, and we're always put in different situations. So let me introduce this real quick, and then we'll get into it for sure. Okay, so over the Thanksgiving holiday, it came out that the United States attacked several boats off the coast of Venezuela, where it was apparent that there were 2 survivors who were injured but unable to fight. And then Secretary of Defense Hegseth ordered, sort of, now that it's coming out, it's kind of like had standing orders that the military should attack until there were no survivors. And if that is the case, would be considered an illegal order. So now members of Congress are, starting this investigation into it, and kind of trying to decide if this was a war crime. So to kind of start our conversation here, let's talk about just the crux of the oath that enlisted and commissioned officers take when they join the military. It's referenced a lot recently, but what is your take? What do you think is the key to, they're different oaths, but they are also very similar?
Yes. So the first thing that comes to my mind is we all take an oath to obey the orders of the officers appointed over us and the President of the United States. The thing that always struck me was that we don't know the President of the United States. I think I probably served under 6. I never met him. As far as I know, he never gave me any direct orders. But if he had, I would have probably turned to whichever soldier was standing next to me and say, "Sergeant, do you think I ought to do that?" I mean, right. The way I see the chain of command, especially since Lloyd J. Austin III, my last commander at Fort Bragg, became not only the CENTCOM commander, but then the Secretary of Defense. I know that there can be people in the chain of command who don't have military experience. They should be staying the hell out of the operational chain of command. They should be giving strategic guidance to the warfighters.
Yeah.
And as I grew up in the Army, we learned what is strategic, what is operational, and what is tactical. And the president, even the Secretary of Defense, if you think about it, they shouldn't be saying things like, "We need to make the PT test harder." Right. Get in your own lane, sir.
Yeah.
The other thing that I remember from being a young captain, we had at Fort Benning, and it was 76, we had some classes in moral ethics in the infantry course. And I know you and most soldiers find that hard to believe. But they took us into a classroom and locked the door and showed us films from World War I and from civilian casualties in World War II of chem biological attacks.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
So then they turn on all the lights and they said, "You're a company commander on the Iron Curtain, and you saw a cloud to your north early this morning, but you didn't think anything about it. You get a phone call from your battalion commander. That was the nuclear cloud. You and your battalion have 12 hours to live. Figure out how to keep your battalion under control." We had guys who had the most outlandish, I'm going to take them all to the nearest concern and let them raid all the beer refrigerators.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this, do that. And it struck me, the other piece while I was at Fort Bragg, our favorite buddy, Lieutenant, let me think of his name, the My Lai massacre. Lieutenant
Caffey?
Calley.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Bill Calley.
Yep.
He was under house arrest in our bachelor officers' quarter.
Oh, wow.
Because they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with him.
Yeah.
And so everybody in OCS really paid attention to how the Army treated a lieutenant who, quite frankly, was simply overwhelmed, and his company and battalion commander gave him no help whatsoever.
Yeah.
Captain Medina, his company commander, got a slap on the wrist, and nothing happened to his battalion commander. And they freaking court-martialed Callie because he was the quote-unquote supervisor on the line.
Yep.
Anyway, those kinds of things bothered us and bother me a lot.
Yeah.
Because you ask yourself the questions, what would I do if I'd been leading a company or a platoon on patrol? 2 or 3 of our best guys had gotten shot and killed, and now we stumble into a village where we think the snipers came from. How would I look my soldiers in the face or empower their NCOs, some of whom might disagree with me? That's not the thing to do, guys. That's what separates us from the guys we're fighting.
Yeah.
And that is a real question of leadership.
Yeah.
So the oath to me, especially as an officer, I did it at the MEPS when I came in the Army. I didn't know what I was saying. I was fighting everybody else.
Yeah.
Every time I got promoted, and the more senior I got, the more I thought about what I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I remember taking the oath, when I graduated from Davidson and got into the Army, and I thought about it, but we weren't at war. And I was 22 years old, and honestly, I loved the Army, but I joined because I needed money to pay for the very expensive Davidson. And I really wanted to go there. And so, I don't know if I thought about it until I was at Fort Drum and was a platoon leader in a attack helicopter battalion. And we, I never went through combat in the helicopter, so I don't know what kind of training they get, but I would imagine, I would hope they would give some extra training, because when you're up high, you might not think about the consequences as much about what's on the other end of your trigger, or your rockets.
Right.
But you need to think about it, You definitely do.
Well, that for an air or a ground combat guy is what we call the snap crack. So you hear, that's my hands clapping together.
Yeah.
That's the snap. That's when the bullet goes by your ear, over your head, very close to you. Then you hear boom. That's the crack. That's when you figure out that somebody else really wants to kill you.
Right.
The snap crack is the true indoctrination into combat.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, at least for me, you can see dead people on the highway in all kinds of accidents, floods, hurricanes. You can even see bodies, very fresh bodies, on the ground anywhere in combat.
Yeah.
But the first time you hear a bullet go over your own head, and it didn't come from behind you, it gets your attention.
As you know, I convoyed to Mosul pretty often to get supplies and different things for us, get money. And honestly, I mean, I was in a nice little, pretty safe place, for sure. And didn't have really anything that happened. And then we were convoying back, and I decided to convoy with the special operations guys. That was that was a mistake. And an IED went off between our vehicles. And I said, oh, first of all, I thought, how dare they want to kill me? I'm a nice person. But it's your wake-up call. Like, okay, there are people that don't like
Yeah.
us, which,
That,
so it was, but I didn't, all I had was
well,
a 9mm on me. So there's nothing that I could do.
my third tour,
Wow.
09 to 10, was at Mosul.
Oh, really?
I went up there. Yeah, I went up there to help do the training for the Iraqi divisions. We had 4 of them.
Okay.
And they had closed down. The Koreans had already left.
Yeah.
They closed down all the stuff north of us, and Mosul was going to close. We were giving the whole country back to the Iraqis.
Yeah.
So they combined us into one big base, but it was a brigade. I mean, it was,
Oh, wow.
and we had 4 divisions to train, and ISIS was starting to stand up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not a time to be. You don't want to be the guy who has to turn out the lights in Vietnam.
Mm-mm. No. I wouldn't think
Baghdad to talk to the State Department guys because the ambassador wanted to keep 2,000 American soldiers. At that point in time, we were still over, I want to say 100,000, spread out all over the country. The Brits had left Basra. The Marines were over in Afghanistan. I mean, we were down to maybe 7 or 8 brigades. We had brigades watching what you and I had divisions watching.
Wow.
So, and they would say, we want 1,000 communications people and 1,000 helicopter pilots, maintainers, and aircraft to go with them. And I said, sir, you don't know shit about the Army. What you need is a division of combat soldiers sprinkled around the country, because this country's going to implode when we leave.
Yeah.
And all these young kids would look at me like, no, the ambassador. I said, I'm trying to tell you from a military standpoint, this country has not been converted to anything. Yeah. Look at what happened in Afghanistan.
I know.
As soon as they're going to go back to civil war, all those people on the other side over in Syria, and maybe even the Kurds in Turkey, they're all going to be down here.
That kicked off too. Big time. I know. That's the thing. It's that I think it's really hard to tell somebody who hasn't worked in that, environment, or whether you're military or anything, is that there's a lot of things coming from the top onto you that you're like, huh? What? No, like when we were there, the State Department really wanted the Kurds to fly the Iraqi flag, and they were like, no way. And since I was there with the Kurds and knew their perspective, I thought, do you not understand what an insult it is to ask them to fly that flag? And this is not a battle you're going to win.
Yeah.
But you just become more aware of those things, Well, one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Before we left Fort Bragg, we all had to watch the black and white movie called Algiers, and we read a pamphlet, an AAR, from a lieutenant colonel in the French Army. And between the movie, which is a fictional movie, that shows women with bombs in their purses, IEDs, shows waterboarding. This is 1957.
Gosh.
We committed every single mistake they made. And it was right there in black and white.
Yeah.
It was right in front of us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Then we also, and this was from the CG, he sent out all these little pamphlets, and you got to watch this film. And then we get ready to go, and we get over there and tear down the statue, and everybody's thumping their chest, and the president says, end of combat operation. And sudden, you got to stay. Well,
Right.
why do we got to stay?
Mhm.
Well, my favorite thing I heard was, well, if we can just show these people bikinis and SUVs and cheeseburgers, they'll all
No.
want to be Americans.
No.
I think are so full of shit. You've never been anywhere. There are a lot of people in this world who don't want to be Americans.
No.
And if they already, trust me, you
Right.
may think they're not happy. You may think they're poor and destitute. They don't.
No.
Oh, man.
No. I mean, honestly, walking around Irbil, Baghdad, Mosul, it's
Yeah.
nice. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
Erbil, it's
Yeah.
very modern. Baghdad has a lot of modern parts to it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad I had the experience, and I really have an appreciation for the Middle East because of it, but most people have no idea. Well, tell me this.
And
So, yeah, go ahead.
one of the things we say in all our vet meetings
Mhm.
is, because we're all combat veterans,
Yeah.
and they may be all different services, they may even
Mhm.
be different wars,
Yeah.
but we all stood in the same lines for
Mhm.
the same food, for the same porta potty, for the same barracks, whether we lived in a tent or on the ground or in a cut V or whatever.
Mhm.
We all shared the same experiences, and
Yeah.
everybody gets that.
Yeah.
And the problem is we're less than 1% of the entire U.S. population.
Wow.
So unless the other person is wearing a ball cap
Right.
or says or has a retired license plate
Yeah.
or a disabled veteran or a
Mhm.
Purple Heart combat wounded, you don't know, but you
Yeah.
can pretty much assume that out of 100 people, one of them might be a vet.
Yeah.
And that person might not have combat.
Tell me, so let's talk about one thing, like, okay, now it's easy for a senator to say to soldiers, like, I think there were 6 of them that said to soldiers,
Oh, yeah.
remember you can disobey illegal orders. Okay, great.
Right.
For them to say, but how difficult is it for someone at the bottom to actually say that is an illegal order? Or even a captain, who's on the
Yeah.
ground. Is that realistic?
I think it's real easy. Grew up at a time in the Army
Mhm.
where the Army was busted. Race relations sucked.
Mm.
Everybody was coming back from Vietnam. My first stay in temporary quarters, all the captains around me were getting rifted, reduction in force. If
Yeah.
they didn't have a college degree, they got kicked out.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it was a rough time. So I remember my captain in my company, he was doing a class on the law of land warfare. Believe it or not, we train sorta every basic trainee, every recruit in the law of land warfare.
Mhm.
And so the captain, who was a combat veteran, helicopter pilot, whole 9 yards, he stands up front and he says, okay, here's the soldier's code, blah, 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 blah. And he says, if I got captured and I had time, I'd teach him how to fly my damn helicopter. And all the soldiers were flabbergasted. And the
Yeah.
drill sergeants were like, did he just say that? And he looked at everybody and he said, gentlemen, when you're in combat, you do what you got to do to live.
Mhm.
And he said, nobody can ever take that away from you.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I always told my soldiers.
Mhm.
If you get yourself into a position where you're questioning higher headquarters, do this, do this, do this, or the situation has developed into, you know, like Miley or say the guys flying the gunships over the Venezuelan ships.
Right.
What you do is you ask for clarification. You make that other guy say, I don't want any survivors.
Right.
Okay? And you make sure somebody other than you hears it. And that is never a problem in the military because, you know, you're never by yourself.
No.
You know, you don't send two privates anywhere because they'll both get lost or two lieutenants.
Well, what do you think it's like? So the young soldiers, they can say, maybe, can I get clarification? I think that's really good advice. But what about top? You know, what about the colonel, the general who gets those orders and they say no?
I think it's even easier.
Yeah.
Because anybody that's that senior knows exactly what you mean when you say, sir, I don't understand. I need to hear that for clarification.
Right. Yeah.
Because I promise you, the guy who told those pilots, I don't want any survivors, if one of them had sense to go, sir, I don't understand that direction or that order, would you please say it again in the clear so me and my co-pilot and my navigator can hear it?
Right.
I promise you he wouldn't do that again. He would yell something like, you know what I meant. Now get up there and do your job. Yeah. Roger, sir, that I can do.
Right.
I mean, could you get fired? Of course. I mean, every kind of job we got, you run that risk. But the one you and I, we were holding people's lives in our hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a different kind of oath.
Yes. It is a huge responsibility. And I still look back on it and think, I was an idiot. I can't believe I was put in charge of what I was.
Well, when me and the sergeant major took over the battalion, we had all this engineer equipment lined up on a assault landing strip at Fort Bragg, and it's like, I don't know, I couldn't even count. But we had more vehicles than we could put a driver and a driver in. We had to either borrow soldiers or not take something. That's how big we were. And we're standing in the back of a Humvee, and I looked over at the sergeant major and I said, Terry, who the hell owns all that shit? And he looks at me and he says, sir, that would be you. It was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was bad enough when I was a company commander and had a property book, you know, and had an arms room with rifles in it, and I was the one signed for all that stuff.
It's scary.
But I made it through.
Yeah, you just figure it out. I mean, I was in charge of $32 million worth of helicopters and then all the other equipment. And I think I had 20 warrant officers and enlisted as a first lieutenant. And I'm like, oh boy, that's a lot of like money and obviously people. But I think warrant officers are an absolute blessing. A lot of people are like, oh gosh, you had all these warrant officers. I'm like, oh no, they're the only way I was successful in my job because they know what they're doing. You know, they're great.
Birds who refuse to be diverted into admin bullshit.
Yeah. You know, they're great. Respect that. So there's a lot moving today now that Thanksgiving holiday's over, and a lot of investigations and threats. And I didn't say that, and all of that going on right now. Who do you think is going to get in trouble? Is it going to be the one that pulled the trigger? Is it going to be that guy's commander? What do you think?
Well, the first part is somebody's going to have to come up with evidence.
Yeah.
And that's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Whether they have radio calls or bodies or a survivor that somehow, hid under the oil or something and got somewhere, that's going to be tough, because the minute you start talking about charges, then somebody's going to ask for, on the civilian side, a grand jury, on the military side, Article 32. Somebody's going to have to investigate and see what kind of evidence there is. Yeah. Let's assume that we got some, more than just he said, she said, which I think is going to be a difficult hurdle, because everybody's going to say he shot John. Okay, it was somebody else. Yeah. So if they've got evidence and they think they can go to a court martial, then the next thing that's got to happen is a senior person has got to decide who are the defendants. And do you do that top down or bottom up?
Oh my goodness. Do you think, I know we've talked a long time, so I hope you have like maybe 15 more minutes. Do you think that we should have a Secretary of Defense who has not served in the military?
That's a very tough one.
I know.
Because had some good ones.
Yep.
Who haven't. The Secretary of War under Lincoln, I mean, the Civil War, the biggest heart attack our country's ever had, he wasn't a military guy. The Secretary of War under Roosevelt in World War II, he wasn't a military guy.
Okay.
So here's the real question. How do we vet the candidate who comes before the, which ain't got that many combat vets in it?
Yeah.
How do we vet that guy to stay in his own freaking lane?
Right. Yeah.
He's not committing our Army or Navy to war. He doesn't have that ability, even if he thinks he does.
Right.
I think one of the biggest differences between General Austin and President Biden and Mr. Hedspeth and President Trump is that Austin understood what his lane was.
Yeah.
His job is to support the secretaries, Army, Navy, Commandant of Marine Corps, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Support. Give them the stuff they need. You need more people? Okay, we're gonna beef up recruiting. We're gonna do whatever we're gonna do. You need more boats? Okay. Congress, here I am, the Secretary of Defense. We need more boats. That's his job.
Yeah.
The people who order people to go to war wear green and blue and whatever. Not they can recommend, and God, I hope they do when it's required.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the problems in England is that they do everything in the House of Parliament in public.
Oh.
If they were like when they ask for roll call votes in Congress, and everybody's got to say or press a button, green or red, it can change a lot.
Okay, let's talk about headsets a little bit more, and then I'm gonna let you enjoy your afternoon.
Well, you got it. between
What?
Secretary of Defense and Secretary of War.
I'm not calling him Secretary of War. I won't do it.
I know, and I'm not either. There's a whole lot of people who aren't. But
It hasn't been approved by Congress, so I'm not doing it.
1947.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to 1947, we had a Department of War. That's when the United States was growing.
Yeah.
We manifest destiny, go to China, all this kind of stuff. Okay? We were a warfaring country, just like England when they were in charge, just like the Romans.
Sheesh.
In 1947, our relationship between civilians and the military changed. We created the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which has one single general who reports to a civilian, and we became the defense of the United States. We do not look for places to attack, I hope.
Right.
We are a defensive but leader country.
Yeah.
You know, every so often my wife would say, who decided we're the policemen of the world? And I said, honey, nobody decides that. When you have one power, and when we lost the Soviet Union, we have two near peers, but neither the Russians nor the Chinese could beat us right now. I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah, I do too.
When there's one whole country, then there has to be a policeman. Even if all we do is send aid or go to the United Nations and beat on the table with our shoe. It's not our fault. It's what's happened to us. And we can either embrace it and lead by example, or we can fold back into our country like we did in the 1920s, and then somebody's going to bomb Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, that's true. No, I remember. I remember we worked with the UN a decent amount at the good old Rock LNO, and one guy was from New Zealand, and he was a lieutenant colonel in the New Zealand Army. And we were just having a conversation over lunch or dinner, and he said, I don't remember, we were talking about the different alliances and everything. And he said, well, if you really want a mission done, you send in the Americans. And I said, well, why do you say that? There's lots of strong militaries in the world. And he said, I don't know what it is about you guys, but you are so mission focused that you will get it done, period. And that really hit me because honestly, I assumed everybody else felt that way, as a military culture. Obviously I was honored that he would say that, but it struck me. We do have a very powerful military for many reasons, but we shouldn't be looking for fights everywhere either, because people die when that happens.
Started training the Iraqis. And the G3 retired Lieutenant General Fred, he said to me, I have a counterpart, the Iraqi G3, and I ain't got time to do this. Can you do it? Sure, be glad to. So the first thing we did was invite him into the JOC. Huge, big mistake.
Oh, really?
When we got back to planning meetings, all they wanted was big screen TVs, desktop computers. They wanted the stuff.
All the stuff.
And what they told me was, Ron, you guys beat us because you have all this fancy stuff. And I said, sir, we beat you because we're good soldiers. If all the TVs crashed, we'd do it on pencil and paper.
Yeah.
If the screens broke, we'd go back to staring at a map.
Right.
And guys would call us.
Yeah.
And God love them, the Iraqis never grasped that.
No.
They never grasped that.
Huh.
I mean, whatever I did, 4 years, 3 different times, never did they get that.
Wow.
I tried to teach them. I tried to teach the staff the decision-making process.
Oh.
So I got a room full of generals.
Yeah.
And I was going around, okay, what's your idea about this? Nobody wanted to say anything. And I finally said, what's the deal here, guys? And the deputy said, the general in charge is in charge because he's the best and smartest. Allah gives him the answer. He will tell us what to do. Our job is to make it happen.
Oh. This has been the Journalism of Everything podcast with Colonel Retired Ron Gallimore, my boss's boss when I served in Iraq from 2005 to 2006. I'm going to have some more bonus content through the new year from this interview, so be sure to stay tuned to my YouTube channel and all of the various podcast apps. Let me know in the comments. What do you think of the U.S. military's actions off the coast of Venezuela? Do you think Pete Hegseth is qualified to serve as Secretary of Defense?